Welcome back. A dairy farmer from Wisconsin named Adam Faux is suing the Biden administration. He says that the COVID-19 loan forgiveness program is racist against folks like him. The package includes $4 billion for minority farmers. So if you are white, you are not eligible for loan forgiveness. According to the USDA data, just 1.3% of farmers in this country are black. Now, Faux says that there should be no racism allowed in the federal government at any level. But he's not alone in this fight. 4 other farmers also joining the lawsuit. Also, he is a double amputee, so doesn't have the same advantages as all farmers. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture also told a local station in Wisconsin that they were looking over the lawsuit with the DOJ, that it will continue, though, to offer loan forgiveness to only socially, quote, socially disadvantaged farmers. Let's welcome in now Stacy Washington, host of Stacy on the Right on Sirius XM. She's also the co-chair of Project 21. Also back with us is Aaron Elmore, a lawyer and Republican strategist and a contributor for Turning Point USA. And Patrice Leon-Luca is here. She's the director of the Center for Economic Opportunity at the Independent Women's Forum. She's also a Newsmax columnist. Great to have you all with us.
Sure.
All right, so here, this is, you know, we've seen several lawsuits, guys, as it relates to this. And I don't know if you've read the actual legislation, but it provides racial preference here. Isn't racial preference, Stacy, bad in legislation in any situation?
Well, yes, it is. So I'm descended from farmers from the South, and there was a time where my granddad actually applied for some of the same kinds of loans that farmers were being given when he was farming the land that they owned at the time. And he was denied. And later, an investigation and a lawsuit found that black farmers were refused the same kinds of business loans from the government that other white farmers received, and that they were materially harmed by that. And so there is a history of that in this country. But that being said, the answer is not to increase racism by then giving preference to people who may or may not have been disadvantaged in the past. So I think our history is fraught with opportunities for us to learn and then also make better choices in the future. And so the key here is, what kind of aid is needed by these farmers, and how can we best provide that in an equitable manner? And I don't mean equity in the same way that Democrats mean it. I mean it in a way that is colorblind and fair.
Right.
The circumstances should meet a certain criteria, and then loans should be given, or if they're grants or what have you. But if it's being done on the basis of race, no matter who's being advantaged or disadvantaged, it is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is that, you know, there's collateral damage here in a situation like your family experienced, Stacy, of course, and it shouldn't have to take a lawsuit to get that settled, but you can't, you know, also harm someone in the future, like this guy, double amputee farmer, just because of something that happened in the past. And during the White House press briefing yesterday, the Agricultural Secretary, Tom Vilsack, actually kind of showed his cards on this one. He talked about banning white farmers from these benefits in the American Rescue Plan. Here's what he said.
I think I have to take you back 20, 30 years when we know for a fact that socially disadvantaged producers were discriminated against by the United States Department of Agriculture. We know this.
It happened. We know this, right? But Vilsack also went on to admit that there are federal programs and steps being taken to rectify what happened, not necessarily associated with COVID relief. And then, you know, they talked about the fact that what they're doing, though, isn't actually enough. And here's where he really gave himself away.
I think there is a very legitimate reason for doing what we are doing. I think it has to be complemented with additional steps, which the American Rescue Plan provides, an equity commission to take a look at whether or not there are systemic barriers that need to be removed at the department, and also taking a look at how we might be able to create better technical assistance, better access.
So we want to end there, but equity commission, Patrice, that's, you know, it's always part of this. They have to create some study group and, you know, and harming people today for the sins of the past.
Oh, yeah. Well, so let's not forget that President Biden, when coming into office, talked about filtering everything through an equity lens, a racial lens. And so this is exactly what we've seen across other agencies, and I think we're going to continue to see it. Certainly, Stacy laid out really well how it's not fair for you to use discrimination to fix past or remedy past discrimination. If you think about it, it cancels itself out. But I think this is just the start. We're going to see more of this. And when it comes to programs that are supposed to help certain groups and certain disadvantaged groups, it's really interesting how they're determining socially disadvantaged, because I think there are a lot of poor white farmers who would say they probably are even in worse shape than some of those who may be black farmers who were in a better financial situation going into the pandemic. It's unfortunate, but this is what we're going to see more of because of this push for equity.
Yeah, equity commissions, socially disadvantaged, Aaron, there's a lot of code words in here, but really it's just about giving one race preference over the other.
A lot of platitudes, but in no world is it equitable for this farmer who has a severe disability to wear the black eye for our government sins of 20 or 30 years ago. Martin Luther King's "We had a dream" speech, or I had a dream speech, and judging people on the content of their character is completely out the window. Right now, if you are Caucasian, which is the wrong color, and you're a good person, it doesn't matter. But if you are a person with a criminal history and has acted poorly and treats police officers poorly, just your skin, you are revered, you are praised, you are loved, you are almost a deity. We have to stop with the color of anyone's skin. Everyone should strive to be the best versions of themselves. And our government should not go back to the racist sins of our past with a COVID section, by the way, if you're vaccinated or not. We're doing things like that right now. And where is the society going if we are just taking all of these steps back based upon very specific identity politics? It is so dangerous for the future of America.
So much of this is based on emotion and not actual data and fact-based decision-making. Again, another example of this right here. Also, guys, yesterday, I know this was disconcerting for a lot of us here. The White House issued a proclamation for the National Day of Prayer, but they never mentioned God, Stacy. How do you have a National Day of Prayer without God?
So blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. And when we have a respect for our Creator, it shows in every area of our lives. And when we disdain him and we push him aside so that we can actually worship our skin, I call them skin worshipers, people who are obsessed. Everything that they do in their lives is seen through the lens of race or their ethnic background. Everything is about grievances and punishing people. Then you're going to have a president who represents that party and that ideology have a National Day of Prayer where he does not actually refer to God or really bring any kind of focus to him. The National Day of Prayer is supposed to be spent praying for this country for the betterment of all of us. So it's not about whether or not a person has faith. It's about saying, if you believe or not, I do, and we want to pray for the betterment of this country. And so making things better, it comes from a position of knowing that there's something greater than ourselves, something to look forward to, as opposed to always looking back and looking down. And that's what Joe Biden represents, unfortunately. And that's why yesterday we prayed for him and that he would be better at being president, at leading this country, and hopefully that he would have a more true representation of his faith that would actually acknowledge God. Yeah,
I mean, President Trump mentioned God 8 times, President Obama in 2016 twice, President Bush in 2008 4. But again, a glaring omission there, Patrice.
Very glaring. But let's think about this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people on the left who don't think that our natural rights, our human rights, derive from God. Right. They think that it derives from the state. And so it's President Biden is a devout Catholic, as he says, and I would hope that in his private time, just like in his public time, he would be okay naming the name of the Lord. But when it comes to this philosophy that no, there are no such things as rights derived from an almighty God, they're actually from the almighty Washington or the almighty government, then it's kind of not surprising that a lot of people are glossing over this omission. For them, it's the government that determines who gets to get whatever they want. It's the government that gives some rights and takes some benefits away from others. Preferential treatment based on a skin color is a great example of that. And it's sad. Right. Stacy is right. It is the Almighty God. He is the one that gives us strength and has created this nation to be as great as it is. And we, especially the President of the United States, should not be afraid to say that. Right. And that, you hear the term a secular liberal nation, but that's how you get there, right? And this is the difference, I think, one of the fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats today is Republicans fundamentally believe that the power is given to them from God or a higher power, and then that power flows through the people to the government.
Aaron, when it comes to Democrats, it's the other way around, that the power comes from the government and flows to the people.
You know, I think this is far simpler than we're even addressing, and that the Democrats are pushing further and further into socialism.
Yeah.
The thing that you see when socialism becomes a part of a society is they tear down churches. Because if you have God in your life, you believe in that higher power, and you live for something bigger than yourself. Without religion, that government is replaced in your heart and in your soul and in your mind. That's why they are doing this. This is very clear, very obvious, and it is not an accident. This is a planned fact because they want to move towards socialism, and you can't do that with God in the picture.
Yeah. All right, guys, we want to say a special thank you and happy Mother's Day to Patrice. Great to have you as always, Patrice. And of course, it's Friday, so our meme team, Aaron and Stacy, are sticking around. We're going to do a Mothers Who Meme edition coming up in about an hour, so stay tuned for that.